Capital Investment Committee meeting for June 27th, 2024. We will call the meeting to order and start off by setting of the agenda. If anybody wants to make any changes, or let's just go ahead and approve it and move on.
Wait a minute, where is the, hold on, which number is, hold
Number
on.
4 is probably what you're looking for.
Alderman Flanagan, will you do a roll call
Yes.
vote?
Oh, that, yes.
Number 3 is gonna take long, right?
Okay, let me go ahead and do a roll call.
Yes.
Alderman Brown,
Present.
Alderman Berger,
Present.
Alderman Caesar.
Here.
Chair is present. Now back to the setting of the agenda.
Question,
Yes.
okay, can we move number 4 to number 3? Before number 3?
Sure.
All right, first and a second, roll call vote.
I second the change.
Okay. So we have that. So
Okay.
roll call vote on setting the agenda.
Okay.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. So we will move those differently. Citizens' comments. I don't see any citizens nor do I have any cards, so we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Item number 2, consideration of approval of minutes for the April 25th, 2024 meeting.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
First and second, we'll go ahead. Any discussion? I'm sure not. Roll call vote. Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion is approved. New business. We're going to start with item number 4. Consideration of Resolution 2024-57, a resolution to approve temporary medium barrier installation on State Route 96, Murfreesboro Road between Royal Oaks and Interstate 65. Paul and/or Adam.
I would introduce it and then turn it over to Adam. I do know we have some residents here that they want to speak on this item. If you remember back with the vintage Franklin development, the apartments and the 4 office buildings, I believe, they did a traffic impact study. And with that traffic impact study, one of the things they identified and recommended was the installation of a median down Highway 96 from Royal Oaks to the southbound ramps. I will say that the crash rate at that time was about 3 times higher than the statewide average. TDOT then had a resurfacing project, and they tried to, we had a conversation with them about it, and they wanted to make some striping changes where they tried to stripe out that big island to try to convince people not to try to make those left turns that are extremely dangerous and disruptive. And since then, we've studied it again, and actually the accident count is about 4 times higher than the statewide average now. And so Adam's been talking with TDOT about it and consistently monitoring it, and he's going to share some other things. But essentially, the state has offered to give us almost like a temporary median. It could be installed permanently. It just requires maintenance, and I'll show you a picture of what that could look like. And it's a good interim step before you get a concrete barrier, which would be the ideal approach. But TDOT has agreed to essentially give us the materials if we're willing to do the installation. And I'm going to turn it over to Adam to show you some other items and some of the software we have, which is pretty cool to look at.
Before Adam asks, I may have misheard this, Paul. Prior to the resurfacing, was there a median that was removed for the resurfacing?
No, there was just a double yellow line.
Okay, the median starts on the other side of Royal Oaks.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for the McDonald section between Center Point, yeah. So actually, after we put that striping in, or TDOT did the restriping, it actually almost went up to 5 times the statewide average. That little number down there, it says 4.62 is the statewide average rate to what we have. So it's almost 5 times that. So just to get an idea of the crash locations in Franklin, TDOT has actually funded a AASHTO with the MPO. I think it was MPO or TDOT that did it. Anyway, TDOT did that. So they actually have a nice software where we can go back, the statewide crash database is in here, so we can go back to 2015. What I have pulled up right now is the last 5 years of crash data for the city of Franklin. You'll notice that this is the highest crash area, seconded by up at Cool Springs and Mallory. Those median openings are what's mostly happening there with those crashes. But when they turn red, that means there's a fatality. So if there's any red dot, that means there was fatality in that area in the last 5 years. So that's kind of, it's a helpful tool for us to see where those are. On the right side of the screen, you'll see what kind of crash it is. Majority is property damage only. There's some suspected minor, some possible. But as I zoom into 96, you can start seeing those crashes there.
So the majority of crashes, is the issue oncoming traffic hitting left turn, folks making a left turn, or is it rear end accidents of people hitting,
It's mostly T-bones. So
Mostly
yes,
T-bones,
yes.
but coming off, got it.
Taking a left
Okay.
into those businesses
Yeah.
and getting T-boned. One person will give them a gap, they think they can go, and then they have
And
to
then the
cross.
next lane over, boom, yeah.
It's occlusion, and then they get T-boned.
Gotcha.
And every driveway essentially creates another conflict point, and the median intention is to try to reduce conflict points.
So your property damage accidents are in blue, and then you got the suspected minors are yellow, and then orange is possible injury. So
The suspected hospitalization.
we don't. So it's a possible injury, meaning they had to take them to in a EMS in the ambulance. Typically, not all the time. Minor injuries usually at scene. My neck hurts type of injury. So.
What's a 763
Number of crashes.
The number of accidents in 5 years.
That's total? That's total.
Yeah,
As you zoom in, it kind of breaks it
Yeah.
up where it's at.
yeah. The further you zoom out, the more it kind of aggregates the crashes together. When he zooms in, it aggregates them to little groups.
Now, what I will say is that 135, the police reports aren't always accurate. They try to, when they have to fill out their police report, they sometimes pick the closest intersection instead of saying so many feet from this intersection. So we don't really have 135 accidents at that middle of that intersection. That's probably because the police report didn't say how far away from the intersection it was. So.
Is this, can you share this website with us? Because we're looking at just 700.
Unfortunately, no. It's something you have to log into, and you have to be given access from TDOT to do that.
Yeah.
But if you ever want to come look at it.
You're more than welcome to come, and we can share it. We can share that with you.
Yeah, as it relates to all city projects, we try to look at where these accidents are happening and what safety improvements we can make. Some are not easily preventable, but others we can look at it and try to improve.
And I suppose you're looking at the reason I was asking for it is as you look at those dots as they go down by the driveways, are they 10, 10, 10 at each driveway and then 150 at the intersection? Or is there, because there's also some that are included, I assume, in that total that occur at the 65 southbound exit ramp?
There are, and
Yes.
depending on, one of the good things is on the police reports, they actually put in the GPS location, the actual coordinates of it, depending on how accurately they put that information in.
Sure.
So that's one of the things we've asked for with this information is to actually get a copy of the narrative that the police officer writes in there, which is very helpful to us to figure out what happens. That's one of the things they're working on, one of the next releases of the software is to add that in there so we can see that.
Yeah, so they'll have the crash diagrams in them. So when you click on the accident, you can see or some very generalized stuff with the accident. It gives you a Google Street View, suspected minor injury, and then you can go down and look at some certain things. Eventually, they're going to get some more data in there, but this is a cool tool, not to belabor on the tool, just kind of here to help us tell the story of this. TDOT actually did come to me a few years back for this restriping. This was identified as a high accident location at the state because it's state road. So they did come to me, and that's when Nathan Vatter with TDOT said, hey, let's try the striping first for a year, see if it helps. And it actually kind of went up a little bit. I think it almost gives people a refuge to sit there and be more, I guess, daring to try to make that turn.
Because they feel like they're not sitting in a lane blocking traffic anymore, which is what we thought might happen. Yes.
Yes, correct.
Who does the ongoing maintenance on these? I mean, just because they do get beat up and then they start looking not great.
Yeah, they look.
Those things,
Yeah. Yeah.
They're horrible. I'm totally against those.
Yeah, this is what TDOT has proposed as an interim measure before you go to a concrete median. This is fully mountable. It'll more than likely fall on us for maintenance. Our street department shares that concern. It's mountable so that fire trucks, police vehicles, if they need to cross it, they can. That's the intent. Aesthetically, it is not the prettiest thing in the world. And
Right.
a concrete median will cost a significant amount of money, but we can certainly explore that.
So if we install that, which is yet to be seen by our vote, you're pretty much giving up a whole entire lane.
A concrete median? No.
No, with this.
No, there's no lane at all.
There's no lane
Yeah.
there.
It literally is installed on where the,
It's all
cen-
striped.
yes, you'd be installed where the old center yellow line would have
It's all
been.
I
striped.
will zoom there to show you.
You're putting it where the striping is
There's
now.
on Exhibit A.
But
it's still a
if we,
full lane.
if we put these up, I want the city to paint them every month, every quarter. Because these things will look
Okay.
terrible.
Got it, the strip.
Yeah, the,
Huntsville, Alabama uses these, they look horrible all the time, all over. And I've seen a few of them around, and I'm like, they're just an eyesore. So, and I don't, and they work, but
And here it is. You can
it's
see
a
it
temporary fix.
as proposed.
it goes down the center of the hatched out.
Yeah. So the way the state got the room to actually put the little stripe median when they repaved last time, well, they just took a foot from each lane width and went from 12-foot lanes to 11-foot lanes. So that gave you the room to do that median in the stripe median in the middle. So we would just put this in the middle of that existing stripe median.
How wide is that stripe median?
It's about
It's about 6 feet, I think.
About 6 feet. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, because you took a foot from each lane.
You could put the concrete.
now.
Do you have other things besides the concrete bollards to put in there? I mean, what do you call those things?
No, we couldn't
It
do.
would just be a small rolled mountable curb for concrete is what it would be.
It looked like the one between Center Point and Royal Oaks,
Just
between, by
thin.
the McDonald's there. They have that concrete median on
Yeah.
96. I think I don't know if that's
Oh,
roll
yeah,
curb,
yeah.
it could be.
So our trucks could go over that?
Yes,
Yes.
they can. We would put a mountable curb in there.
Yeah, we could do that.
It's just much more expensive.
Yeah,
And
it's more
the one thing about doing something like this is, and this is more of an interim step, is it just allows you to see if there's any unintended consequences and something that can be pulled out and you haven't fully modified the roadway. If something unintended happens, you can pull
Like-
these out and you haven't modified the
Like
road.
what? Like what's unintended?
Emergency services having problems with it. Too much maintenance for street department. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just-
We don't know until we just put it in
Business
there.
owners get really upset.
Yes.
I mean,
Have we spoken to the business
Well,
owners?
and then we're going to talk to you
They don't
about that,
want it.
is they were spoken to back in 2020, led by the development community. Our plan would be to get your feedback, to send them a letter and invite them, because obviously the full board's going to need to weigh in on this, would be to either to invite them to a public meeting that's held separately, or we could have them come to a board meeting. Either approach would be fine with us, but we wanted to get your feedback on how.
So an appropriate motion here would be to ask you to do that work, but then to send this to BOMA is really what,
Yes, sir.
yes, okay.
I want to hear from Stephanie. Stephanie, will you come up here and talk? Is that okay?
Actually, push the button.
And then this also, while she's coming up, this is also like
Yeah,
a
we
proof
need to
of
get,
concept
before you leave,
stage.
Stephanie, there's comment cards on that table so we can capture your information. That would be great.
Okay, sure. I'm the one that brought this up. back
Put
in
punch
April.
your thing green.
It is,
It
it's
is.
on.
It is, okay.
It is. Well, a couple of things. I travel this road every day, back and forth to go visit my father. It's compounding the traffic issue on Murfreesboro Road, which is already a mess. It's dangerous. I've almost gotten T-boned several times with my father traveling because people are trying to get into the fast food restaurants, and it's illegal. So honestly, the fact, well, first off, I want to say a couple of things. There was a comment that you guys said that it was 6 feet wide. It might be in one section of it, but then it narrows down. I don't even think it's 6 feet wide the whole way across. I would ask you to go look at that. And another thing, the fact I was in the audience getting a little frustrated. The fact that we would ask the businesses. I mean, I get that you might want to notify the businesses, but people going into that section and making these turns, it's illegal. It's illegal.
If I said ask, what I meant was, were they aware?
Okay.
Because it will probably impede their business as far as pattern. I'm not saying life safety is less important.
Right. Okay. Well, that's what
not-
that's what it sounded like.
No, ma'am.
and having a separate meeting. So I would just want to make sure it is a safety issue and it is illegal for people to be pulling in there and doing that. And they're doing it all day long. I've passed by there multiple times a day, and there's multiple cars stacked up in that little area. And it might be 6 feet at one point, but it's not 6 feet the whole way. It narrows down.
Yeah.
It's not the entire length, especially as it approaches the intersections, it does
That's
narrow
good.
down.
There you go.
It does narrow down.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. So, we talked at one time, going over here behind where you turn right there on Royal Oaks, and going behind those businesses and putting an access lane back there. Remember we talked about that for the businesses?
Yeah,
There's a
there's-
hotel that would be right in the middle of that now.
That hotel has cross connectivity,
Yeah.
is platted for emergency access and just general traffic. And as those properties redevelop, we'll continue to make them have that connectivity through, for
Yeah,
access.
the hotel you can get too,
Yep,
in the back.
in the
From
back.
Top Hat
Yeah,
Cleaners.
so
Yeah.
we need to continue that around to those businesses.
As they redevelop, we're getting them.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would mention also about the temporary solution, it does give you a proof of concept stage that you can put those out there for a certain time frame to convince hesitant property owners along the corridor that, hey, this is not going to affect your business like you think it was going to. You're still going to have business before you made the investment of putting permanent infrastructure in place.
So we need a motion, and then we
So-
can discuss more, please.
I'll move to recommend to send this to
Earlier.
BOMA, but also to request that staff notify local business owners.
What are you sending to them?
This whole, yes. For discussion, I think a fair discussion about whether or not we want to push for concrete or not, but I think and as a temporary solution to learn, as long as we can be on the maintenance, I'm happy to have that discussion with BOMA.
I'll second that and submitting the need.
Yep.
I'll second that.
Okay. So, is anybody else here to speak on this item? Thank you so much. I'm sorry you
Thank you.
misunderstood my intent.
Yeah, just fill that out and bring it back. So my concern is if we do this temporary, what do you call them? The sticks.
Yeah, median, temporary median, I guess.
What? Drive over sticks, whatever.
It's a flexible, it's a curve with
Flexible.
flexible delineators.
Yeah.
Flexible what?
Delineators.
Delineators. Yeah.
That's
okay.
fancy.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sticks. Okay, sticks. I'm going to stay with sticks.
Ugly sticks.
Sticks, ugly. And they're fine when, well, they're never fine, but once you put them up, within a month, they look bad. and
They're all
within-
over 30A as well, so, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast right now.
Yeah, but they keep theirs looking really nice, actually. My concern is we've got to do something. Totally got to do something. If we put these up, how long is that going to stay? 2
Well-
years, 3 years, 5 years?
That'll totally be up to the board. What we'll do is we'll work up a price on what the concrete
Can you
and
do that?
resurfacing. The big thing is when you put that barrier in, we got to make sure the drainage will still work. So we can work a price up and have that as a potential option. Then we'll have to figure out how to fund it.
Now also, we were talking about the development down there off of
Oak Meadow.
Oak Meadows, yeah. And they were supposed to put money into improving this area. So where are we with that and what happens?
So the 4 office buildings, and the office market is not the best market in the world right now, is when they went forward with their first one, they were supposed to come
trigger?
out here and put this in, and they were essentially going to use your road impact fees to pay for it. So we were going to do a road impact fee offset agreement with them.
But they're not building right now.
That's
They're not
correct.
building
So-
right now, correct?
But whatever they put in there, they may come back and put in something else. They will still have to do this, right?
Yeah, the plan as of now was that we would enter into a road impact fee offset agreement, and they would do it 4 years down the road, 5 years, 6 years. We're throwing out as an option to do it now.
And then, so what were they to put in?
Concrete median.
Concrete? So we could put these in, and if we wanted to in a year or two, we could go to the concrete, or we could keep them, and then if development happens, then they come in, they take these out. I still want them required to put the concrete in.
Correct.
Correct.
I would agree with that.
Okay, yeah. I think you would.
Absolutely.
All right,
Okay.
everybody ready to
All right.
vote?
Yeah.
Could I just make one more comment on this
Please
motion?
do.
So as we think about voting, which I'll vote in favor of bringing this to the full board,
Yeah.
I'd love to see a little bit more detail on the crash data to talk about how much of
Yeah.
it was rear end versus T-bone. Because people in that area are very happy to get off the interstate and jump on their phones. And I see a decent amount just driving down that road of rear end collisions. So it might be nice to give us some, like, here are the number of potential fatalities and that, or aggressive T-bone type accidents that have happened in this area. I think this is a safety issue. I think we have to do something about it. The sooner the better, the more lives we save. However, I agree with Alderman Berger that I don't love this look, and I don't know if there's another intermediate option that's out there, or even how much this option is going to cost. The state's going to fund the product. We have to put it in, right? So it's not free to install,
Correct.
right?
I get the thing that they kind of have some in storage somewhere and you can borrow these.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like to me.
And I think that's reasonable, but if putting them in is going to cost us $1 million to.
No, it won't be.
Okay.
no.
It's very
That was going to be my
inexpensive.
next request. What is it going to cost to put
They're
them in?
essentially, they're bolted into the pavement.
Yeah.
You epoxy them in and bolt them to the pavement. That's it.
Okay.
Expensive.
Okay. Then if we could just get some of a little bit more detailed crash data and then a comparison to what it's going to cost to do, kind of what we hope potentially to do in the long run, that would be best.
I will say it is, the rear end's going to be difficult because if someone slams on their brakes because someone is turning, they'll slam into the back of them.
That's true.
So it's not, every rear end is possibly
It's not a rear
attributed
end,
to
yes.
But it's still
that.
classified as a rear end.
That's
Okay.
right.
So
So you don't
a little bit more detail on the accidents and where they're occurring, I think just to further tell the story will help me, I think, and help potentially some other members of the board make this.
And I may have some resources to the MPO I can send out where they do some data dashboards that show some crash history that are not quite as detailed as what we have access to, but they still show some crash history in the area. So I can send those out as well.
And I would love a report on roundabout traffic issues while you're in your little software.
They
Well,
don't
while
operate
you're
outside.
there, Alderman
We can do
Blanton, Chair, a roundabout may help people who are going
Sure.
to the right come back and access those
You want to put a
businesses.
roundabout right down there in the middle? That's great, let's do it.
All right.
We better take a vote here.
Let's vote.
You can right, left, up, and down. They're gonna go up, they go up.
Alderman Brown, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, passes
Thanks
unanimously.
for coming, Stephanie. Did you, yeah, bring it up.
You can just skip that, thank you. All right, item number 3,
Thanks.
going backwards, consideration of Amendment 1 to City of Franklin Contract 2023-0210 with CDM Smith for sanitary sewer modeling for the Mays Creek Basin planning. Michelle?
So their initial, the initial PSA that CDM got back in September of last year was for 60,000. And this is an amendment to kind of, so that outlined kind of where the sizes of interceptors we need. We wanted to do an amendment to have them actually lay out those interceptors with depths and profiles. So we can see how, as we look at growth in that area, how large of easements we need to make sure we get appropriate easements to do maintenance on that line and install that line. That'll reduce the amount of temporary construction easements we have to buy in the future. So this is still underneath the total amount that I had budgeted for this project, back in last year's budget. So we do recommend approval, but open for questions.
Move to approve?
Thank you, sir. All right, first and second, any
Second.
discussion, questions?
So,
That would be a yes.
yeah, just, however, it's just, to finalize the study, you want to provide sanitary sewer layouts, central force main alignments, estimates of conveyance sizes, potential conflicts, implementation of challenges. So this is what we're doing. We're adding these.
Yes, yeah. So this would be where they go through the parcels. We know the general layout, but this would be looking at them in relation to the parcels that have been undeveloped, where we need to get the easements, where we need to secure those, the sizes that they need to be, the depths that they need to be
Oh,
in
size
the
of
ground.
Okay. Yeah, and so it's another, okay.
So Michelle, what was the original?
So the original amount was 60,000, and it was approved September of last year.
And we're adding 24 to make it a total of 84. I think that's what I'm reading in the
Yes, yeah.
law.
What did you budget that for?
I'm sorry.
What did you budget that for?
In last year,
Yeah, I thought it was 60.
It was 60. I actually had 100 in our overall budget for this project to
Oh,
be
you did?
completed.
Oh.
That,
Yes.
That,
If-
I got sideways when
Yes.
you said it's less than what you had
Yeah.
projected.
That was good
Okay,
news, too.
No, the overall amount is,
less than your 100.
yes.
Got
Oh,
it.
okay.
Thank you.
Probably should have clarified
60
that
plus
better.
24, 800. Yeah, it's definitely less than,
All right, everybody ready to vote?
yeah.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Passes unanimously. Item number 5, consideration of draft change order 1, final change order and project closeout to City of Franklin contract number 2019-0230, a construction contract with Civil Constructors LLC for Franklin Road Corridor Improvements Project for a time extension of 75 days and a cost decrease of $612,103.90.
So this change order is really to finalize line items associated with it, quantities. I will say that we also charge liquidated damages at $2,000 per day for a total of $428,000 is the liquidated damages. The other ones are just quantities that we didn't end up having to use. The project looks great. Jonathan and William Banks and had a lot of help from all of
William Banks.
our Public Works team did a great job with it. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Move to approve.
You have somewhere to be, obviously.
Second.
All right, thank you. Question, did we ever get the lighting situation changed with the,
Yes.
Okay.
We did. We got
because
the
I know
light
we
shield-
talked about it, but then it was like, I guess it worked because we didn't talk about
We
it
got the
anymore.
light shields installed and we also got the lighting levels down. I'll get the exact number wrong, but it's, they were like 52 or 50 some odd percent of what
Okay.
they were, yeah.
Awesome. All right, any other discussion or questions? All right, Alderman Brown, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, passes unanimously. I'm doing so good at calling y'all by your last name. Just had to say that.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. Item number 6, consideration of amendment number 1 to City of Franklin contract 2020-0313 with VSR Partners LLC for road impact fee reimbursement agreement in the amount of $108,000.
So this is, the developer is dedicating right-of-way, and this is the appraised amount, and therefore we should reimburse it. I will say that the impact fees being paid by the developer are only $8,736 for collector, but the fair thing to do is pay them for the full value of that right-of-way. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right,
Second.
thank you very much, Matt. Any questions?
So does that happen often?
It does happen time to time. This is a very small development. It's not a big school. You know, there's times like Poplar Farms where they're doing $11 million worth of improvements and they're only getting $2 million back. But that's a big development. So on these smaller ones, we try to match them up the best we can. And unfortunately, in this case, they're having to dedicate a lot of right-of-way to us. And so the fair thing is to at least cover the right-of-way cost. Sometimes we'll
Get that.
make them go off and do off-site improvements that exceed, but typically, we want to get that right-of-way covered.
Yeah. Understood.
Greg?
I think I'm comfortable with the answer there. Thank you, Paul, for that additional color.
All right, everybody ready to vote?
Yep.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, passes unanimously. Item number 7, consideration of City of Franklin contract 2024, sorry, people, -0129 with CSX Transportation, Inc. for the East McEwen Drive Phase 4 Improvements Project in the amount of $146,053. Bingo.
This is one of the few remaining items on McEwen. We got the last permit earlier this week, and this is the contract with CSX, and that'll help us get us to that notice to proceed for construction.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a
Just want to let
second.
y'all know I'm bringing champagne when we cut the ribbon to start construction.
All right, anybody have any questions or comments? All right, Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, passes unanimously. In the end, capital projects dashboard and status updates. Jonathan, do you have anything to
I'll give
highlight?
a couple of, I'll turn my mic on first. Give a couple of quick highlights. We're going pretty well. Things are going pretty well on Spencer Creek. They're actually starting to get that bridge. The bridge segments are installed, and they're actually starting to put the head wall pieces up. So they will have the roadway back open. That was part of the requirements for that. They won't have the project location fully done by the time school starts back, but one of the requirements they had in place was to have the roadway back open by August 1st for two-way traffic. So by the time school's open, they'll have Spencer Creek Road back open. So that was one, we're happy that's going to be back open, and they're moving quickly on that.
Great to hear. I had that one on my list. So obviously, a lot of traffic started cutting through Monticello.
Yes.
So for a short period of time, police have stepped up their
Good. Glad to hear that.
patrol of that area. They had a trailer out there for a while.
Okay.
Residents did say that did have an impact. Yesterday, obviously, they pulled that trailer. They probably have a need for it elsewhere. We only have a few of those laying around. And so while I'm sure we'll keep some patrols going, we've had a positive impact on people cutting through. And the concern is we have another month to go. I almost wish Adam was still. I don't know what other options exist. Obviously, I've explained the timeline to getting speed bumps down. Temporary ones would put us past the month, probably by the time we get them approved and all that. So I don't know what other options exist, but obviously cutting through that residential, Spencer Creek has always been an issue of speeding.
Yes.
We're just putting on different roads and now the residential.
And I've actually had one resident contacting me and was asking to actually put detour routes through. I was like, no, the reason we chose the detour route we chose was to not put that traffic through Monticello, and we wanted to put it down on Black Horse Parkway because that's the more appropriate road to put it on, because there's also a signal at that intersection. It's the safer intersection to make those turns from onto Hillsborough Road. But one of the things we talked about we could potentially do if the cut through traffic continued, we could always put up, and this is signage, so it's not really an enforceable thing, but it at least deters some people because they'll see the sign. We can always put no through traffic signs up in construction signage. We could add some additional signage. I don't want to put sign clutter out there,
Yeah.
but that's something we could do quickly. I mean, I can have our folks do that. I won't say tomorrow because they have a sub that does that, but next week.
Yeah.
That could be very quick. I could put those off of Hillsborough Road at both entrances to the subdivision, and I could put them off the entrance on Spencer Creek as well that say no cut
Monticello.
through traffic.
Jack
put a
Owens
big-
can hook you up.
We could put a big residential sign underneath it too to really emphasize it, and hopefully people will respect
Yeah.
that.
I would appreciate any motion towards trying to get some protections there on that neighborhood would be great.
We'll get it scheduled.
Because I think even just the nominal amount we did with the trailer and all that was helpful. So I don't want to go absent for an entire month. So if you said we were 2 weeks ahead of schedule, I'd say we'd grit and bear. for a
Yeah, I
while,
would say
but-
we're not really ahead of schedule, but we're on schedule.
Okay.
And I would say that if we need to, if the trailer really helped, we can always get our traffic control sub-consultant, or not sub-consultant, but subcontractor. We can always rent a trailer from them. We can get a speed trailer if that helps. But I mean, it'd be a construction speed trailer, so it's not going to say Franklin Police on it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really probably what slowed them down, was it says
it was.
Franklin Police on it.
Yeah.
Nothing like blue lights to help slow people down.
No doubt. Yeah. Let's try the signage and see what happens with that. And I'll certainly talk to the department again. And if that becomes available again, have them see if they can stick it back over there.
But right now, we're definitely on schedule to have the roadway back open by August 1st.
Okay, great.
And I would also mention that, obviously, if you've driven out Baker's Bridge, we've already have switched over. Now that we had the decision on the change order to get the additional fill material put in where we had the void underneath the roadway, they actually have that void already fixed. That half of the roadway is complete, done. They've actually repaved the approaches. They've already switched over traffic, and they're working on the other half of the bridge. So within the next week and a half or so, they'll be done with that entire project, and then they'll move over to the Mallory location at Jordan Road. Jordan Road project is moving really well. Jordan Road project they're actually working on there's a 3-box bridge. They're actually working on I saw pictures of the 3rd box foundation, so the box bridge that they're replacing the existing bridge with. They've actually are working on pouring the last foundation right now, this week. And my understanding, they're actually driving through there, they've actually got the curb and gutter already done on the Aspen Grove end all the way to the bridge. And they've got that up to blue top base stone. And they are going to do the first layer of asphalt. I was told this weekend, maybe not this weekend, but next week, I would assume they're going to do the first layer of asphalt. So they'll actually have the end, they're actually going to get that paved here in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
When do we think this road is slated to be open?
It's scheduled to be open. They have a year contract, so when they started in March, so they actually have until March of next year. They're well ahead of schedule right now. So, knock on wood, every time I ever say that to you guys, we come back and we're going to ask for a change order for another 6 months. But right now, they're well ahead of schedule. They're really moving some earth out there. They've really been impressive.
Do they have
So-
an incentive to get that done?
They do have an incentive. Right now, if they keep up at the current rate they're going, they will actually outdo the incentive they will actually outdo the maximum that we're allowed to pay them.
Oh, okay.
So it is Jones Brothers Construction, Jones Brothers Contractors. Yeah, so they're one of the major players in the area.
Yeah. I didn't even look and see who it was.
I have a question unless somebody else wants to go first. Somebody reached out today specifically about, and I'm glad Michelle's here, water line in front of, on Fifth Avenue. They're saying that they were told that they were going to have that block of Fifth Avenue with the Presbyterian Church and Frothy Monkey closed for 2 weeks to replace a water line.
Yes. So
And
as
when
part-
does that start?
So it likely, it starts the 15th
Of this month, next month?
of July, yes. And they'll try and get done before school starts. They're going to push it so that's part of the larger ARPA-funded Lewisburg water and sewer infrastructure project.
I guess in my mind, I thought it was just going to be like further down, more Lewisburg Pike than Fifth Avenue. So Frothy Monkey was unaware of this. So
Okay, so we had a conversation with, is it Heidi? Is that her name? With the DFA? Yes.
well, the owners for Frothy are not always in the DFA meeting because they have so many multiple locations. So if we can, who can I direct them to speak to just to know the timeline?
I can, let's see, you can tell them to call me or
Okay.
send me an email and I don't know how to reach out to them because
I do.
sometimes if I stop by, it's not,
Yeah,
the
the
owner,
owner's a
so-
friend, but he's always opening another location somewhere. But a customer told them about it, so they were like, "What? What?" And I'm like, "I'll check into it."
Okay.
So that was just today. So evidently not.
Oh yeah, so we did, we had a public meeting last night.
That they referenced that.
Yeah, that we had we sent letters to all of the residents that are affected that immediately touched the project. And then it was, obviously, we had signs at some of those large intersections for folks to attend. I think the weather probably didn't
Yeah, no doubt.
do us a lot of favors last night. We had about 20 people there, but I'm not sure it was business owners.
Yeah.
We've talked with Heidi, and we're going to keep in contact with her. We actually have the August
Which is great.
1st meeting.
I'm
I
just
think
saying,
is-
unfortunately, these people probably don't always attend that kind of thing. So
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So we have we've talked with Jack about kind of sanitation, and we have asked Heidi if she can give us the companies of like the sanitation haulers that some of those private companies use, so we can kind of reach out to them just to let them know that there'll be some impacts to traffic as well.
So they won't even be able to access the alley that gets behind the theater and Puckett's and Merides and all that. I mean, if they can use that church entrance,
Yeah, they
that's
could
fine.
access it off of 4th. Yeah, they just
Well,
can't.
Fourth is one way.
When,
If you come in
Right.
Fifth and turn in the alley, it's a one way out. Like you can't come.
you can't come in that way.
You
right.
can't come in between Chaz's office and Puckett's. But now that church is taken over for their school, which thankfully school's not in session, people will come to pick up their kids. Again, they're not in session unless it's a preschool. They'll turn on the alley in between Frothy Monkey and whatever that is. And then as they get almost to where you would turn through that U, they take a right. And so that traffic pattern, I know this because of the Jimmy Gentry project. So maybe with no school in session, it's not a big deal, but unless it's a full year preschool, I don't know. But they have trucks and deliveries and all that stuff. We're going to have to make sure that all of those restaurants and everything that are in that area let their food vendors and them know there's going to be a new traffic pattern.
Yeah, so that, thank you, Paul. So just that entire project is divided into 6 phases.
Sure.
And so as they move out of that downtown area, it'll, the traffic will move farther down as they move down Lewisburg. So it won't necessarily be in that area. There will be a time, at some point in time, we will need to access that manhole that is in the middle of 5 Points. Adam is obviously reviewing the traffic control plans that Benish is pulling together in conjunction with this project. So the contractor is Garney. He has a sub of Benish, who Adam works with fairly well, I think, right? And so they're working on the traffic control for this. We're looking at doing that when school is not in. So I don't think we can get it in right now before school starts for the school year, but maybe over like a winter break or a spring break or something to actually tackle that intersection.
So let me just, so the,
You have 2 ways in and 2 ways out. You'd be all right.
right, so Church Street will be the detour route. Yeah, I know, hey, I'm paying attention.
Okay.
I have vested interest.
I know you do.
I was closed all day today because of no internet, so I can't lose more days. I need my 2 pennies that I get every day from that thing.
Yeah.
I need my 2 cents of stamp money that I get for opening that thing. So Church Street will be the detour route when the manhole work, but after that, it's just Lewisburg. So Columbia stays open?
We're closing one lane on Columbia and one lane on Main Street, but we've come up with a pretty detailed traffic control plan with their consultant
Yeah,
did.
Benish has developed a really good map, a detour map for especially for 5 points. We worked, originally the plan was to close pretty much traffic to the entire intersection, and we're like,
Oh, no,
this
no,
will be a nightmare. We can't do that. And they were able to, they were able to sit down afterwards and say, yeah, I think we can keep these lanes open. They were, the team was able to come up with something pretty creative. Rather than removing that existing manhole, they're going to set a manhole next to the manhole, the existing manhole, and leave the one in place.
Relocate that.
Yes,
And then work on the
correct.
new one and
So July 15th, you're going to start kind of like at the corner by the Presbyterian Church and work your way south. Is that correct, Michelle?
I'm sorry, I was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna pull up the traffic control plan,
Yeah.
so you all can see that from the public meeting last night.
Okay.
We can talk from that. That'll show some of these hatched areas once we get.
Come on, stop. Stop blinking. Yeah, that yells you do every time. And then by the time you click on it and get in there, then it launches.
So she's, I'm sorry. As she's bringing that up, the manhole in 5 Points it's a pretty extensive excavation. I believe it's 15 feet deep. They're going to have to bench back quite a bit. That's the reason why that whole intersection has to be closed.
So at the public meeting last night, we did get email addresses of all the residents that were there and do plan to have communication with them. We also have a dedicated page on underneath our water management website that will be updated every month, every month at a minimum, and then during milestones as we reach them. So here's the traffic control plan, and then we're working on more detailed signage and stuff that will be submitted to Adam.
May I interrupt real quick? So this is the traffic control plan for the first phase. So as time progresses, additional traffic control plans will be developed and shared with the property owners. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So they're setting I don't have a pointer. They are setting a manhole. Oh, thank you.
One's flashlight, one of them's corner.
So they're setting a manhole on the south side of 5 Points right here. And then they will be replacing all the water and sewer in here. The sidewalks will remain open except for when they need to make connections to those services, to those companies.
Be careful with Jimmy, please.
Well,
He'll be
so-
supervising the whole time.
Please be careful.
Already out in the vest.
Yeah, we may need to cover them
Well,
up.
so
honestly.
the only
That's
reason
fine.
the only reason that this lane is blocked off is that we have to bypass the sewer. So there will be bypass pumping lines that'll be on top of the ground that'll be bypassing into the manholes on Main and onto Columbia. That's why those specific lanes are blocked off. We're not replacing the mains in those areas. It's just because that manhole will be open.
And will they be without water for different times of the day or no?
When we make the connection, which will be a short period,
Very briefly.
and
Okay.
that'll be conveyed. We have a process where we do a minimum of 72 hours in advance to let homeowners know that we're making connections. So
Okay.
that'll be that same process here.
The general process is lay the new line, bring it into service, and then make
And then make
connections.
those connections.
Okay. Well, I will definitely put them in touch with you.
So if you have other residents who want to email me, I can certainly email this out or add them to our distribution list. And then Trish is the project manager and she'll keep in touch with them. We've come up with a pretty hardy plan for getting the word out. We'll do the same thing as traffic control continues to move down that area. obviously, as it moves down, I think those residents will be happy for less traffic on Lewisburg than obviously right here. And then when we do get into 5 Points, that'll be a larger traffic control plan. We'll certainly advertise.
So there's no, during that phase, there's no, what is that? Eastbound traffic on Main Street?
Correct.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, for just,
Fifth and Fourth.
yeah, for just that little area. So it's,
Working downtown is
This-
not easy.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
this infrastructure is a little bit rough. It's got water mains that are, varying sizes because we've made point repairs throughout the year because no one wants to be in this area. So it's going to increase capacity. It's going to increase pressures in this area. I think the residents are going to see a lot of benefits.
We'll have to get Jimmy a poncho, a hard hat, and a vest.
They'll be fine. It'll be like
Michelle,
weekend
how
at
long-
Bernie's.
How long do you anticipate these road closures and this whole project in this zone? Is it?
So in this one, well, we're hoping to have it done by school starting is the intent. But it may extend a little bit longer as they're trying to wrap up. So the other thing about this is that we've not opened these roads, since probably a long time, right? It's
been a long time.
Yeah, so who knows what we're going to find? It's always a fun scavenger hunt.
After the 4th.
Well, my main concern again would be all of those people who have that back access for delivery through that alley.
Yeah.
That would be one of my biggest concerns. I mean, not to say it doesn't need to happen. I know when we did Jimmy's thing, it was just a day of like hours they were freaking out about deliveries and not being able to use that alley. Luckily, we gave them plenty advance notice so they could bring them another route or schedule it for a different time.
Have we
And if,
considered that
if-
part, the rear service that has to happen at those buildings? Have we considered another way to get vehicles back there?
We
Because that
have.
church lot has a chain across it, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they just need to be communicated with.
Yeah, we talked about it, and there's probably times we can let the deliveries go through as long as they're not working in that direct area. If they can coordinate with us, that's the goal right there, to accommodate them as much as we can.
Well, what I'll also do is send you the same list I worked off for that little project, so
Oh,
to make
perfect.
sure that you have a, yeah.
But
Yes, ma'am.
That's a question I've got to go. Not about this, but Liberty Park, the bridge was on there for the CIP,
Yes.
the bridge going on there. How soon is that bridge going to be attended to? Because I went in there on Saturday, I should have called, there was this big piece of wood just sticking up. Cars couldn't even get by.
I would say within the next 4 to 5 months, we'll have the design done, and then we're actually bidding out the park.
Okay, can somebody tell Lisa that bridge has got to be repaired?
Yes.
Because to go in there, the dog park, the farmer's market, all that stuff going on Saturday, you have to go in the other lane actually to get in on, and I don't know if somebody pounded
I'm sure
that
they-
wood back down, but the wood is cut and it's all, it's bad on your tires, so some piece of wood's gonna go in somebody's tire.
Okay.
We'll get
And
someone
it
out
better
there.
not be mine, because I was in there Saturday, I'm like, I don't want to drive over this.
We'll get someone out there and
Yeah,
take a
can you
look.
get them check on it maybe by tomorrow?
Yes.
Appreciate it. Okay,
Do
great.
we ever have Margaret's ribbon cutting on our bridge, or I just out of town or missed it, or
No, we have not. We have not had it.
can you please make that happen?
We'll make it happen.
She deserves that.
Sorry.
Something while she's alive, and we can celebrate her. I know. Do you have anything else? Who wants to make my favorite motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're out. Thank you.